Hey piano people, today I'm going to share with you 4 tips that are going to help you overcome piano performance anxiety. Performance anxiety is the worst. I know you know what I'm talking about. You sit at the piano, you practice, you prepare, you dive in and you spend hours and weeks and months working on a piece and getting it to the point that you can play it so beautifully for yourself. And the second that you go to play it in front of someone else, things start to fall apart. I don't want this experience for you. I want you to be able to play in front of someone else and feel confident and know that you're going to be able to handle whatever comes up during that performance. So make sure that you stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to give you 4 tips that you're not going to want to miss if you want to overcome performance anxiety. The first tip is to shift your expectations. And this might sound obvious, but people don't often do it. So stick with me here. So oftentimes as humans, when we feel something uncomfortable, like anxiety or fear or sadness, we want to overcome and push past those uncomfortable feelings. And so we start to go into a little spin in our heads about how can I make it so that I don't feel this way? And when it comes to playing the piano in front of someone, if you're feeling nervous or you're feeling anxiety, whatever you're feeling, the second that your brain starts to focus is on how to not feel that way, things start to go wrong. Because at that point, we're letting our biology, the fight or flight response, kind of take over and drive for us. And we don't want that. When you are performing or playing for someone else, it's really important that you are in the driver's seat and that you are making the decisions and that you're kind of the conductor of the experience. So the first thing that I want you to do is shift your expectation. Why am I getting nervous? I don't want to be nervous. How can I get past this nervousness? To, I'm feeling nervous. That totally makes sense because this is a performance and every single person experiences performance anxiety on some level. And that simple mindset shift can really do wonders because it normalizes the experience that you're having. So instead of getting caught up in all of the uncomfortable feelings and going down the spiral train of thought of how do I get rid of these feelings, all of a sudden you're accepting and you're meeting yourself where you are. And that clears a lot of space in your brain to utilize some concrete tools to help you with the performance anxiety or the nerves. The second tip is to come up with a pre-performance routine. Now, there are lots of variations of this, but basically a pre-performance routine is anything that helps you achieve a state of calm before you start to play. I actually have several things in my pre-performance routine that I do throughout the day leading up to a performance, and then also in the hours and minutes leading up to a performance. So some things you might explore here are, maybe not having caffeine if you know that you're going to play for someone else. For me, caffeine totally amplifies everything that I'm doing. And so if I'm feeling nervous or anxious, it's going to elevate that. And that's the last thing that I want. I know that because I get nervous before performing, I often am not super hungry in the hours leading up to a performance, but I want to make sure that I have energy. And so I will often eat a banana within an hour or 2 before a performance, just to make sure that I don't have a blood sugar crash, but it's also a good way to settle my stomach and to not make myself feel more nervous. In the 15 or 20 minutes before a performance, I actually really like to do a meditation, and then I will often do power poses to get my blood pumping and to get myself into the mindset of I can do this. I kind of go into this mode where I'm my own cheerleader and where I'm hyping myself up for what I'm about to do. And then when I'm actually sitting on the bench, right as I'm about to play, I will never start playing before I take 3 deep breaths, slow, deep breaths, and before I sing the first couple of phrases in my head. Because the slow, deep breaths allow me to really focus on what I'm doing and what I'm trying to create. And singing through the first couple of phrases helps me find my tempo and helps me get into the mode of the music so that by the time my fingers start to move, I'm already in the piece and I'm already feeling it. So you'll experiment a little bit with a pre-performance routine and find the things that work for you. There's not right or wrong things, just things that help you feel prepared and help you feel good about the performance. The third tip is to not only practice the piece, obviously, before you're going to play it in front of someone, but to also practice performing the piece. And I have an entire video where I really delve deeper into the difference between the two, and so I'll link that in the description below and you can find it right here. But there's one main difference when we're practicing a piece versus when we're practicing performing a piece. When we're practicing a piece, I always advocate for accuracy and consistency. So when you are practicing, you're drilling sections of the music, you always want to go back and make sure that you fix your mistakes because you never want to let a mistake solidify. You want to make sure that the number of times that you play something accurately is always higher than the number of times that you play something inaccurately. And so in practice, this often leads to stopping and starting and stopping and starting because we're drilling things. We might even be specifically going over one measure, 20 or 30 times in a row. And we're very focused on consistency and preventing those mistakes. Now, when it comes to performing, it takes a little bit of a different skill set because ideally in your performance, you're not stopping and going back to fix your mistakes. You're ideally starting at the beginning of your piece and playing all the way to the end of your piece without stopping, or if you have to stop or if you make a mistake, you're hopefully able to just continue on and not go back to the beginning and start over. And so because that is a totally different focus than what we do in our practice, you have to actually practice that skill set. So during your practice time, you have to say to yourself, okay, this is a performance now. I'm going to play through the piece from beginning to end. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to go back and fix mistakes. And I'm just going to see how it goes to play it from beginning to end. Now, the more that you do this, the more comfortable you get playing from beginning to end and allowing yourself to let go of the mistakes. Because when we're in practice mode and we're so focused on consistency, we notice every single little thing, ideally. But then in a performance, you actually want to change that completely. You want to let go of those mistakes. You don't want them to hold you up anymore. And so practicing that art of letting go is so important because it's a hard thing to do if you're practicing well. Also on the topic of practicing performing, you can kind of replicate the performance experience even if you're by yourself. So do something to throw yourself off, like turn on the TV in the background so that there's something there to distract you, or turn off the lights in the room that you're practicing to elevate the experience and make yourself feel a little bit nervous or a little bit out of your element, because that can kind of replicate how you'll feel when you play for other people or when you perform. And so practicing that feeling of finding calm in the discomfort can be very helpful as well. Now, the fourth tip is to play often for others. And this can mean anything that you want it to mean depending on your goals. It could mean that you're performing all the time. Maybe it means that you're playing in church all the time. Maybe it means that you're just playing for your kids or your husband or your pets or your stuffed animals or the books on your bookshelf. But playing for other people often gives you information. And the more that you repeat that experience, the more information you have. Try not to get too attached to like it was good or it was bad. We're not going to judge the information. I just want you to do it often enough that you know how it goes. What does tend to happen to you when you play for other people? I know that my leg always shakes. That's one of the things. And I know that my stomach feels really nervous. Those are kind of my two things. And that has shifted and morphed throughout the years at various stages of my piano career. And if you perform often, even if it's low stakes, even if it's just practice performances, you start to learn who you are as a performer and as a musician and as a person that plays for other people. And the more you know about yourself, the more you can come up with specific things to address the things that you are experiencing with your nerves. The one thing that I always tell the people that I'm working with is that the only guarantee when you are playing the piano in front of someone else is that unexpected things will happen. And so if you know yourself and you know what you tend to do when those unexpected things happen, you can start to be aware of it and you can start to shift those reactions so that you can have a better chance of playing through the piece beginning to end as seamlessly as possible and as musically as possible. Now, if you are enjoying these videos, go ahead and give it a like and comment below and let me know. And head on over to my free Facebook community if you're not already a part of the group there. It's a fantastic community. And a few months ago, we did a performance anxiety challenge where we got together every day for 5 days and we really worked through this performance anxiety, and people came up with their own routines around performance. And it was hugely beneficial for people. And we do stuff like that in the group all the time. So join if you're not a member already. And then don't forget to check out that other video about the in-depth differences between practicing performing and practicing pieces to be able to play them through. And you can do that right here.